Alright, I think it's been long enough where I can finally talk about Half-Life Alyx without worrying about spoiling people who have already either beaten the game or been spoiled themselves. Sorry if you're in the latter, but I understand if getting VR in time was too big a price, since as I explained in my last video, it almost was for me. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to record myself playing Half-Life Alyx, or rather I could, but the recording screwed up and I was only able to record in 1 frame per minute or so. So it's a shame my genuine first impressions are lost to time, but maybe it's better this way, because I was trying to hurry in that game so I could beat the game as soon as possible to avoid spoilers. Therefore, I wasn't really able to fully soak in the environments, find all the items, all the Easter eggs, or all the lore bits scattered around. If I can get it to work in the future, I'm not just going to do a playthrough, it's gonna be a safari, where we explore every nook and cranny, find all the items and lore stuff, and theorize all along the way. Now the only problem with that is, due to the virus, I've had to move back home a bit sooner than I previously anticipated, so I'm a slave to my bad Wi-Fi, which, as I feared, has gotten even slower since last time. I'll let you guys know how long it takes to upload this video, so maybe I can gauge how long I should make my future videos. I should probably cut the crap and just get on with the theory then, huh? Now, because of the grand scale of Half-Life Alyx, there's a billion and one things to catalog and theorize about, but the problem is, we in the lore part of the fandom are kinda backed up. Tyler, JC, and the Combine Overwiki are busy data mining, and at the time of writing this, Dread Isle hasn't even finished the game yet. So when I said I was going to be early, in a way I'm a little too early. Now, due to Half-Life Alyx's popularity, there has been a bunch of channels that have been bandwagoning by uploading a bunch of what is essentially the exact same video, with roughly the same thumbnail and mostly the same title. Something along the lines of Half-Life Alyx Ending Explained. I haven't seen any of these videos, but I already tell they aren't exactly that deep, or as nuanced as anything us actual Half-Life fans can say. And I know that because most of these bandwagoning channels are either bigger channels who don't specialize in Half-Life Alyx, or they're game journalists. So since I'm the first serious fan on the scene, I'm gonna give my really deep take based on all I can surmise from the ending G-Man scene from Half-Life Alyx. And remember, these are massive spoilers for every Half-Life universe game, because this changes the whole universe pretty much. To start, I want to give a mention to VGTI. He was a theorist who helped me get interested in Half-Life and its lore in the first place. I mention him because, given this ending, it seems he was correct in his G-Man theory he made years ago. In fact, I think I can say now that we have a pretty good idea of who the G-Man and his employers are and what their nature is. The G-Man practically tells us himself, saying,
"Some believe the fate of our worlds is inflexible.
Oh my god.
My employers disagree.
Oh.
They authorize me to nudge things in a particular direction from time to time."
So that's what the G-Man is. His employers tell him to shake up reality a bit by changing things in the right ways at the right times to achieve a greater purpose. Sometimes he does it himself, like in the Black Mesa incident. Other times, he places the right people in the wrong place, like in Half-Life 2. Now, all those other videos could have told you all that. It's not hard to wrap your head around. But there's some other detail sprinkled in this sequence that implies even more than meets the eye. Firstly, let's talk about the part where Alyx prevents the ending of Episode 2. Well, for starters, I don't think we need to debate if Epistle 3 is canon or not anymore. What I do need to say, though, is that this scene kinda creates a paradox. Upon killing the advisor to save Eli, you get the achievement Consequence. And the G-Man begins his next statement with,
"As a consequence of your action."
And in the post-credits scene, Eli says,
"Son of a bitch, it has unforeseen consequences!"
If it's not made obvious by all this, then let me spell it out. When the G-Man made Alyx tell Eli in Episode 2 to
Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
It was not in reference to the Borealis potentially causing another Black Mesa, or to Eli getting killed by the advisors. It was in reference to Alyx and the G-Man bending time to save Eli, and the consequence is that Alyx is hired, or rather forced, to take employment by the G-Man. The unforeseen consequences the G-Man was warning Eli about was the ending of Half-Life Alyx. And this is where the paradox comes in. G-Man is obviously a time traveler, but from his perspective, there should be a sort of linear progression of his actions. When the G-Man gives Alyx the chance to save Eli from the ending of Episode 2, that means for him, the events of Episode 2 have already happened. But if Episode 2 already happened, then why did he tell Eli to prepare for unforeseen consequences if the events that set in motion those consequences didn't happen yet? This creates a circular causation paradox. But to pile on top of that, there's another time-traveling question that presents itself in this. Which Alyx got hired by the G-Man? From her point of view, and from the point of view of the player, Alyx was taken by the G-Man after the end of Half-Life Alyx. But from Eli and Gordon's point of view, in the post-credits scene, she was taken at the end of Half-Life 2 Episode 2. And you can even still see the G-Man there off to the right. So, which one is it? And this is where I believe the answer to these paradoxes comes in, and I think that the answer tells us everything we need to know about the G-Man. The G-Man is beyond time, completely. He's not just any time traveler. Unlike what Freeman's Mind Gordon said, he is not a Time Lord.
You see, he is one of me.
Oh, I see. You're both Time Lords.
Well, quite. Well, not quite.
He is not just some government agent with some sort of time travel device in his briefcase. Because for all those, there is still a linear progression of cause and effect that is preserved even when they themselves move throughout the timeline. But the G-Man is something else, because there is no cause and effect for him. He is outside time. This is extremely telling, because it narrows down our G-Man theories a ton.
Do you have any other questions? Thank you. They've all been answered.
In fact, I think there's only a handful that are even remotely plausible now. He could still be a Sha'ulathoi, maybe. It's possible that the adult Sha'ulathoi is granted non-linear time travel powers, but that's not a guarantee. And with Epistle 3 not quite being canon anymore, I don't know if Valve considers Brain Grub canon anymore either, or if they ever did to begin with. Although it is worth pointing out that after saving Eli, G-Man specifically points out how the advisor will not continue living, which to me felt like there was a butterfly effect by killing it, because there was some sort of unforeseen significance. Could that advisor have been Dr. Breen? That'd be another VGTI theory proven right. But still, I can't really back up a theory with another theory, so this whole thing is the least plausible. Now, although this is also up in the air with the Epistle 3 being written out of the timeline, it may be possible that the G-Man's origins may lie with the Borealis itself. Now, even though it is a time machine, it's also seen to be able to travel through space, alternate dimensions, and parallel universes. It's really a super TARDIS. So perhaps using that, the G-Man can circumnavigate the laws of time itself. But again, this is far-fetched and may not even be canon anymore. Anyway, so in my opinion, the ending of Half-Life Alyx really points to only two logical options for who the G-Man is. First is that he is a god, plain and simple. He and his employers are gods, they exist outside the universe, and therefore can change things however they please without regard for breaking timelines or causing paradoxes. Nothing too special. The second theory, which just so happens to be my theory, is that the G-Man is Valve. Would it be narcissistic for me to think it's more likely? Well, whether it is or not, I have more to say about it, so that's what I'm gonna do. As I explained, when I first made a video on this theory, Valve's real-life actions give a lot of context to the G-Man's in-universe actions. Valve has a vested interest in nudging things in different directions in the universe, because that's what creates the situations that they can make games about. If the Resonance Cascade didn't happen, or if Shepard wasn't trapped at Black Mesa, or if Freeman wasn't dropped into the middle of City 17 to start an uprising, or if the G-Man hadn't been captured in the vault, then you really wouldn't have a Half-Life game to play, would you? This also explains why his employers, aka Valve, have a vested interest in keeping the Combine on Earth, cause then that gives the player an enemy to fight. Also, when the G-Man explains to Alyx the consequences of saving Eli, note how he refers to both Eli and the Advisor as entities. That's game dev talk right there. Perhaps there's a strategic reason in the G-Man and Valve's eyes to change the timelines like this to prevent Epistle 3 from happening. Now, I've already talked ad nauseum in my G-Man theory video about all the other times G-Man's speeches and actions seem to parallel Valve's IRL actions, but I want to end this with what the actual implications for Half-Life 3 would be if this is the case. The G-Man is most definitely the main antagonist now, and the goal will be to get Alyx back from him. If the G-Man is Valve, will Gordon and Eli travel to our universe to save her from Valve? I can see it now. Eli, Gordon, and Barney use the Borealis to teleport to Valve HQ in downtown Seattle, get in a shootout in the building Matrix style, find Alyx, Adrian, Chell, and Colette Green all tied up BDSM style in Valve's basement, and after freeing them, engage in the epic climactic chase to catch the G-Man, Gabe Newell, and Eric Wolpaw before they get away by helicopter. I mean, even if that's not what happens, I want someone to make that a game anyways. Oh, and before I go, I want to present one more mini theory. Is the female scientist seen talking to the Combine Colette Green? She has similar hair, she's a scientist, and she implies she may have been at Black Mesa. And she knows of the person in the vault, who we find out later to be the G-Man, and very few know of him. But Colette Green is one of those few. Also, it can't be Judith Mossman, because then Alyx would know she betrayed them years before Half-Life 2, and according to Tyler McVicker, in the dev history, she was going to be an important character, a Combine Administrator type character like Green, which Judith wasn't ever to our current knowledge. Plus, Tyler wasn't able to find her actual name from when she was a major character, which raises red flags as to if she was someone we've seen before and Valve is covering it up. Also, Tyler McVicker posted on Twitter a salvaged, detailed model for the scientist, and yeah, if you asked me what Colette would look like in her late 40s, this is pretty close. Well, either that or it's Edna Mode. One last thing to mention is that, thanks to some information from a secret anonymous source, although we still don't know her name, we do know that she and some other cut characters secretly work for a Combine-aligned company called Han. There's not a lot of info about it out there yet, so I'll have to wait, and maybe make a more detailed video later. Alright, that's enough for this theory. Thanks for watching.